Good evening, world. It's 10 p.m. on September 3rd, 2023. My name is Chris Kennard, and I'm joined today by singer, songwriter, rapper, artist, brother, Mikie. Mikie, welcome back to the channel. I think it's your fourth time being here with me. Congratulations on being the first live stream to break my extended hiatus. How are you this evening?
I'm good. Thank you for a warm welcome back. Always appreciate when we get to get together and do these, live streams and very happy that we, get to do one tonight and very excited and, to anyone if it's the first time at your channel, go check out go check out this channel. Check out all the content you can on this channel because it's pure gold.
That's a very kind endorsement, so I appreciate that. The reason we are all here today, folks, is that Mikie has released a brand new album which dropped on July 21st via Soul Music LLC. Shout out to the squad, shout out to the team. The album is called
Mm.
Good Grief. It's available now on the two biggest DSPs, Spotify, and Apple Music. Please pay my rent. What? Who said that? Nobody. Okay. So, Mikie, once again releasing some new music. If we're in an elevator and I'm like, "Oh my god, are you Mikie? Yo, what's the new album about?" What would you tell me in 60 seconds?
In 60 seconds, I could do it in less than that. So I would say it's about grief, it's about heartbreak, it's about pain, uh, it's about inner strength, finding yourself in those really dark moments that you have in life. And it's about overcoming and moving past those, heartbreaks and pains and struggles that you go through in life.
All right, cool. We've got our description, we've got our subject. Let's get to the nitty gritty, the gravy, the bits, the protein, the vegetables. There are approximately 18 songs on this album, so I have prepared 18 questions in regard to my listening experience of the album. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, then. Track by track. Track one is the intro, Baptism. Mikie, what is this sample from, and what foundation does it establish for the listening experience?
This sample is actually from The Godfather, the very first Godfather movie when it's like the baptism murders where Michael settles all family business and you see exactly what he does and he gets rid of all the people that were like double crossing him and like going behind his back. So it was the perfect setup as far as this album was kind of like taking care of all family business, which is a quote that he says in the movie that he's going to do. Like, today, I take care of all family business. So it was kind of like a wink and a nudge and a nod at that. And I know Mathematic and I were talking about we always wanted to use that to open up an album. And it was funny when he first heard it, he was like, "Oh, like you finally, you got to use, the baptism sample or whatever." So that's so cool. So it was just kind of like a nod to everything. I thought it was a good kind of like setup.
All right. I lied. There are 19 questions. This is not related to the album, but as a in a purveyor of film and all things of that nature, should
Mm.
I see Godfather 2 and 3, yes or no, and why?
Um, so the first one, part one, is my all-time favorite,
I seen that one. I
which
enjoyed that.
is weird because most people say Godfather Part Two is their favorite. But I would say at least one and two. Three, it doesn't really matter unless like you see the end of it of three, which I'm not going to spoil. But like you can just YouTube that. I don't want to put that out there, but uh, yeah. I mean, I've seen all three of them. Three is my least favorite. One and two, and then the first one is my absolute favorite. So yeah, I wouldn't bother with three. I would just stick with like one and two because those are the best ones in my humble opinion.
Right on. So
Yeah.
the first two selections are required viewing, and the third is extracurricular.
Yes. The third is like if you wanna just be like, I'm just gonna watch this just to say that I watched it, basically.
Keep that in my mind. All right, track two of the album is Deliver Me. So,
Mm,
while the first thing I wanted to know, and
mm,
just some background on our conversations we've had personally, aside from the stream and
mm,
such, I know that you said that you were toying around with the idea of making some rock based music. And
mm,
I said to myself, where have I heard this exact tease? All right,
mm,
Doja Cat, and it seems that both of y'all bamboozled me with your I guess like your creative qualms as of late. So bearing that in mind, minor disappointment aside, is the compositional similarity to the songs from your previous release Endure an intentional decision?
yeah, it's absolutely intentional. I wanted to make another album like Endure, like just kind of like in that vein. Because Endure was 21 songs, this is 18 songs, and they're basically almost like back to back. I mean, I might have taken like a couple weeks off from recording and writing and stuff like that. But like that was literally it. So I think how this one sounds a lot similar, like as to like Endure, is because I made them so close together that there was like only like a 2 week kind of like overlap. But I wanted to make something like in that same vein and like vessel that Endure was made out of, because it's like kind of like finding your sound again. What I want to sound like, what I want my music to sound like, what I wanted to, kind of portray. And I do want to do stuff more in like the alternative genre, more in the rock genre. It's very to me, that's like a really great way to write songs. It's a really great genre to write music in, and I love it, to be honest. So I'm hoping to just kind of keep the ball rolling with that kind of style of music for sure.
All right. No one can say no to a spiritual successor to a previous release. And just for those who may be wondering, like once I heard that Mikey wanted to release a more just like rock oriented album, I sent him Glow On by Turnstile. And I will say to all Turnstile fans out there in the world who are unfamiliar with Mikey's music, I would say that this album is definitely in the same vein as the song Alien Love Call by that band. So if that specific song means a lot to you, you may find some songs very enjoyable from this release. Just a quick side note there. Track three of Good Grief is Cold Feet. And I would love if you could provide me an example of when you yourself had cold feet. And just to get the ball rolling, I will share my own example of when I had cold feet. One kind of serious and one not so serious. Firstly, I just thought the world should know your boy is single and ready to mingle. And I gotta let you know, there are a lot of baddies out here, and I'm quite intimidated by them. Shout out to all the baddies on the apps that have a fully fleshed out bio. And so you see a baddie, you read the bio, and it's like, holy heck, this person might be everything that I want, but I am a coward. So you're getting the left swipe. So please don't take it personally. Any baddies out there is like, dang, why aren't I getting any more likes? If any of these brothers are like me, we're terrified of you. So I hope you take that as a compliment. But that's the not so serious example. A more serious example is when I was a child and my mother was like organizing this like musical program for the one of the local churches in the area. And the music she selected, I'm thinking, yo, this John is fire. Like I was making a bunch of noise with like a piece of wood and a Cookie Monster kids chair in the living room, like having the time of my life. And so my mom's like, oh, okay, you're vibing. So I hope that means you'll join the rest of us at the front of the church when we perform. And I'm like, wait, what? I have to perform in front of other people where they can see me? Heck no. And so I like not so graciously declined to like participate with my mom at the church. So we all go, and my dad is like, will you please reconsider? He was going to buy me a king size candy bar. And for those who did not know, my dad was the plug for king size candy bars when he was still working for Century Distributors. May he rest in peace. But even that would not persuade me to change my mind. And the performance was great. The music was cool. And I still think, dang, I wonder how like my life would have changed had I said yes. I know I'd have a handful of sugar in my pocket, but like I was just like for some reason just couldn't like shake the fear. So that was a very humbling moment for my upbringing. So Mikey, if you don't
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
um, what's a recent memory of you having cold feet?
A recent memory of me having cold feet. Ah, man. See, I mean, you can kind of draw your own conclusions to what the song is about. I mean, I can tell you the actual meaning. But as far as me having cold feet, um, I don't know. I usually like the temperature really cold, so I think I'm just always cold, like to be honest. I think my feet are always cold. I think like my body in general is always cold because I have it so cold wherever I am, the AC, not just like because it's like super hot out and I have the AC blasting in my car and everything. There's always a fan on. Like you might even be able to hear my fan right now.
No, I can safely say the recording is not picking up your air conditioning. In
Okay.
short, it seems that Mikey is cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, I'm always cold. It's like that Kanye song that we don't talk about, the cold
I've
song.
I've I've never heard of that particular artist. We'll have to get into him some other time.
Yeah, I forgot
Um,
about it. Yeah.
track track 4 of Good Grief is you could say the first part of Refund, which is
Mm,
and in parentheses we see the term control issues. My
mm,
question for you, Mikey, is
mm,
what is and like um beside like the relationship you're still like contemplating on this album in general, what is your relationship with control, if we can get like
mm.
cerebral about it?
Yeah. I think everyone in some shape or form wants some kind of control. And then some people just want it, more than others. And my thing is, I would never try to push that onto someone. Like, if I needed so much control, I wouldn't push that onto someone and be like, oh, well, I need this and this and that. And like, you have to do this and this and that. Like, that's not who I am as a person. I think it's this general thing that I think everybody needs or wants to have some, kind of, control. Just in my opinion, I mean, everyone's different. Some people might not need as much as others. I just think it all depends. As for me, I'm literally content with about just the bare minimum. I'm totally fine with, but I think for the most part, people want to be in control, and you should want to be in control of your own life, absolutely. So I think it's important, but then there's some things that you're just like, is this really important, or can I just kind of let this go?
The only control I need in my life is rent control, but that's neither here
Oh,
nor there.
yeah.
Track number 5 of Good Grief is Crybaby. And no, it is not a Melanie Martinez cover. No, it is not a CeeLo Green cover. But Um, in the song, we hear the term dropping dimes, and I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know what that means. So I go to the most reputable source for information, Urban Dictionary, which describes dropping dimes as to snitch on someone. Any comments on that particular definition, Mikey?
It's interesting that that's what it says. The context that it's used in as you've said the word baddie, right? It's like
Uh-huh.
It's like dropping a baddie,
Oh, snap.
basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like dropping a dime. As they were referred to back in the day. Before they were baddies, they were dimes, and then before dimes, they were something else. I don't know. But that's pretty much what it refers to. Not
It seems
snitching,
that you and Jimmy
but
Fallon
you
have something in
could,
common.
yeah, but I mean, you could drop a snitch like that though. So I mean, there's always that way of looking at it. Yeah,
In the wise words of Dominic Toretto, I never narked on nobody.
I never
So,
knocked on nobody. No.
all right. Track number 6 is Never Stop, in parentheses, Ghost Stories, part one of Never Stop on this particular album. Um, I did a somewhat small review of this song on TikTok. Kennard Chris on
Hmm.
TikTok. So check that out, I suppose, if you want just like the nitty gritty on how I feel about this specific song. Just a lighthearted question that I often see used on the Hard Lore podcast. Mikey, do you believe in ghosts besides the Holy Ghost?
It's interesting you say that. I've had a couple of experiences with them before. But uh, I don't know. My religious beliefs don't really tie up with that. I mean, there might have been something that in those experiences because I just experienced them when I was a kid. So like my quote unquote ghost stories. But as an adult, I cannot say that I have experienced a ghost. But as a kid, yes, it was very real to me when I experienced those things. But I don't know. I think that believing in ghosts for me is kind of faded away. Now there's a new kind of ghost out there. Dum 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 dum.
Hey, this is not the X Files. But as it's been said on the popular program Bleach, spirits are always with you. Track
Mm.
number 7 of this album is Meaningless. And in regards to the lyrics, are you afraid of drowning? A very serious question here on the show tonight.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that. I've actually drowned before.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
so sorry to hear that.
yeah, I was at this lake in Georgia, and I was kayaking, and all my cousins were doing like flips on the kayaks, so it would like go underwater and then like pop back up. Mine went underwater, and I was unable to pop back up, and I was strapped into this kayak, and I was panicking, so I didn't really know how to get out of it, and I was just underwater, upside down in this kayak, like drowning. But then someone come came in and got me. Obviously, I'm here, alive and well. But I think people can be emotionally drowning. I think people can be going through so much pain that it almost is like they're drowning in their sorrows almost. And I've experienced that a lot in the past few months, and it's pretty real. When you feel like that, and it can be kind of almost like an endless sea of water, that you're just in, and you don't feel like there's a way out, but then you see the way out, you get up, and then you go on about your life. But I think as far as that song goes, it's more, you know, there's a lot of people, and I feel like I'm speaking to them directly that feel like they have no meaning and they feel like they are drowning. So what I want to do is be able to reach them and say, hey, like, you're not going through this alone. You don't have to go through anything alone.
It sounds to me like you made Meaningless into a musical life jacket, huh?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of the songs on this album talk about death and talk about, you should have killed me, or, you know, that, and it's kind of like in that vein. Um, and that's just like, it was the reflection of self, at that time. I didn't feel like my life had any meaning, but here I am on a better path, doing much better. And you just can't, when those painful situations happen, you just can't just crumble. You got to get up, fight for yourself. Keep pushing forward.
Well said. Track number 8 of this album is Dead, and it's not referring to the band by the same name with the same spelling. I just wanted to provide a little BTS for anybody who may be wondering behind the scenes, little inside baseball. At 57 seconds of this particular song, a sample of someone talking appears almost out of nowhere. Is this a possible Easter egg for the listener?
Yeah, it is an Easter egg. It's actually it's from a Kurt Cobain interview actually, and she's like talking to him about life. The interviewer, and he's like, there he was talking about like, oh, do you want to have kids? And it's like that same interview. He's saying that life makes more sense like when you're in love, and I like felt that interview like to the core, because it does. You feel different. The way you view the world is different. How you look at things is different, and it was just kind of like an Easter egg, like, hey, if you like really like this album, here's something for you to look up if you can find it. But yeah, it's just a clip from that interview. Yes.
I never would have guessed that. So thank you for that explanation. Shout out
Yeah.
to Francis Bean Cobain. I hope you're well wherever you might be.
Yes. Yes.
Track number
Absolutely.
9 of this album is Hot Mess. And no, we're not talking about Cobra Starship. Here's a very silly question. What
Mm.
is your favorite soap to clean with when you make a hot mess?
Oh, favorite soap to clean with. Mm. I would say probably just, if I had to choose, probably like Dial. I feel like Dial is good for anything, like, or Downy or something. Those would probably be the ones that I would pick. Because Dial,
Ah,
for me, they have so many different kinds of Dial. So they have the antibacterial ones. They have the ones that smell good. They have the ones that do this for that reason. They have all like the whole brand is just built for like all different like different situations that you would need soap for. So I would say probably Dial. Yeah.
I hate to say it, but we're a Dove household here at Chris Kennard and
Uh,
Q. But hey,
Dove is good too. I'm not hating on Dove. Dove is great. I
great
just
for a
didn't come.
shower. What can I say?
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna need some help with this next track. Track number 10. Do you pronounce it olanzapine?
Olanzapine, yes. Yeah.
What is that?
So olanzapine is a downer. It's given to people with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. It's an antipsychotic drug. It brings you down, and for like someone who hears voices, it suppresses that. For someone who's manic, it suppresses that. So it just kind of like brings you down to earth, and um, yeah, that's what olanzapine is.
Would you say what would you if you had to like do a review like on say like I don't know like what's that food reviewing website everybody uses? I don't know. Like if you had to like do a review on like say Amazon for olanzapine, would you say that it's helped the ones that you've loved, or is it not like the best option? Would you say?
Um, For as far as the ones that I love that have been on that, it's made them gain a bunch of weight, but it's also helped them out a lot in a lot of areas of their life. But the reviews that I've heard from these loved ones, it makes them kind of numb to the world, and they're not able to access their emotions the way that they would be if they were not using olanzapine. So I just thought it would be a cool to have a song about olanzapine. Mental health awareness. Why not?
Certainly, we it's been said by way like more informed and smarter people than myself that I believe that in the United States of America we have a lot of mental health awareness, but right now we could use a lot more mental health action. So take
Mm,
that for what it's worth in your own lives and experiences. Please note that myself, Chris Kennard, and Mikie are not doctors. So, like, should you like get a recommendation from any person not qualified, be sure to speak to your primary and possibly get a second opinion. That's just
yeah,
quick
that's
PSA there.
yeah, that's what my day job is. I actually work at a psych rehab. I work at a day program, and I teach people who have mental illnesses, coping skills, and daily living skills in like a group therapy setting. So it's something I'm very passionate about. Just like Chris had mentioned, although we're not doctors, but please, get the necessary help that you need. And there's always hotlines that you can call if you feel like you can't really reach anyone about it. Even if it's just to talk to somebody, it helps to do that.
So you revealed some, and thank you for saying that. So, track number 11 is Haunted. And you mentioned your like actual day job when you're not like creating music.
Mm.
Here's another job I think you might have. Are you a musical prostitute?
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely.
And for the record, like we here at Chris Kennard are very supportive of sex workers.
Mm.
But in general, like with the way they're like, hey, like if there's a genre out there that wants to like put me to the test, I am here and I am willing. That's Mikie, huh?
Yeah, I would say so. I like to challenge myself. If anyone's been following my quote unquote career over the years, I think that you would see that I do, indeed like to challenge myself. So it's just fun too, you just have to love it, and you have to, um, you got to be able to push yourself and be able to like branch out, because if you're so, I don't know, I just feel like being able to do different genres and subgenres, um you're not boxing yourself in anymore. Like I even changed the way that I write songs just to, like, not box myself in, and challenge myself. Like I can't remember the last time I wrote an actual song down like on paper, um just because of the way that I love to write music right now. So I am a musical prostitute, my dear.
Oh, you heard it straight from the man's mouth. Like an investment in Mikie is a sound investment. Speaking of sounds, track number 12 of Good Grief is Doom and Gloom. Straight up, what is the genre of this song?
um I I don't know. So I would say, I don't know, kind of like, to me, and to me personally, it feels like 80s rock mixed with like alternative, like if like early alternative
Like
mixed with
Joji
like,
almost.
yeah, it like mixed with that. And that's something that I'll tap in more to, as more new music comes out, which I'm kind of on a sabbatical from that right now. Just because I put out like, 21 track album, then an 18 track album. I'm just gonna let those projects breathe, you know.
Almost 40
To
songs. Impressive.
Yeah, kind of like, that Action Bronson song, "Let It Breathe for a Minute." So I'm gonna let it breathe for a minute before I, like, start working on the next one. But it'll be fun, and the next one will be a fun one for sure. This one was very difficult, not as far as making it, but the feelings, thoughts, and emotions that came with it. So it'll be nice to make, do a fun one, you know, do one for them, do one for you. So,
Hey, well, shout out to beautiful Bo Bronson. Here's a not
mm,
so fun question for track 13 addictions.
mm,
Um, is there a chance you'd like to speak about the role alcohol played in regards to the creation of this album?
um, maybe, maybe, I mean, I can't really remember, as far as how much it played into, or like if it was a consistent thing that was going on throughout it. But I know for a fact that I just kind of had to uh, slow down with the whole alcohol thing for a little bit, because it was just kind of um, not so good. There were times where it just wasn't working out for me. It wasn't the best thing for me. But I was able to kind of, take a step back, slow down from it, to a point where I'm like, okay, this isn't a problem for me. But if I wasn't able to stop, then there would have been a serious problem. Um, so that's what I would kind of comment on that. Yeah.
Kudos to you for knowing your limits, I'll say for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
hey man, that's what I'm here for. Track number 14 of this album is called Sneaky. Could you tell me your thoughts on resentment in general?
Mm. I don't really like to resent anyone or anything in particular. I don't like to hold on to stuff like that, you know. It's hard not to when someone, does you some wrong, or like, does something really messed up to you. It's hard to not let that go, but eventually you have to let it go, because I feel like a lot of us kind of, if we hold on to something, it kind of eats us up, right? Like, whether we want it to or not, if we hold on to something and don't let it out for a very long time, it's just going to eat us up, eat us up. And then one day we're just basically going to explode, and then it'll come out in one way or another. So I try not to hold on to anything. I try not to hold on to any resentments, and, just kind of let it go as soon as I can, as soon as I'm ready to be like, okay, like, let's drop it now. Um, so yeah, I don't like resentments. But that was a very fun song to make. I will say that.
There you have it, folks. The most fun like he had on a track on this particular release. Here's a more hopefully fun question to answer in
mm,
regards to Battle Cry, track 15 on this album.
mm.
Sort of a double question. What is a cause that you would take up arms for? What is your crusade?
A cause that I would take up arms for, my crusade. Probably the mental health stigma. That would be my call to arms for sure.
In the sense that, like,
Definitely.
say you would do everything in your power to
To
guarantee mental health resources and just like access for all like people across the world.
I would do everything in my power to fight for people with a mental illness, to get the proper treatment, to be treated fairly, to be treated humanely, to be treated with love, and not this stigma that's been placed on them just because, they have something that they have to take medication for, because they have a chemical imbalance in their brain. I always look at it like this, right? To use a comic book reference, I look at, the mental health community, right? Because I'm a person in that same community as like mutants, right? Like X-Men. Like look at them as mutants, and then, I feel like I'm like the Magneto of that situation, where I just want to fight for everyone who's like me. And then, the world is trying to change us, and the world is trying to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want the world trying to change people who have a mental illness. I want them to accept them and be like, hey, like, this is what it is. This has been going on for generations, hundreds, thousands of years, and just have it come into where it's a thing that maybe we don't even talk about like that, because it's so, profoundly accepted, if
Well,
that
it looks
if
like in the
that
near
if that
future,
makes sense.
sure. Like it looks like in the near future, I can expect to see Mikey fighting some Sentinels out there, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
We'll certainly follow up with you a decade from now to see how like your crusade is going, because it certainly
Right.
seems to be an uphill battle. But I think we all have a part to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we have about three more questions to go, three more songs here. Here we have part two of Refund, the So Sick version, and
Ooh.
I here's another like just like heady question for you. Are you an optimist or a pessimist, and is one better than the other?
Mm. Um, I would say I'm an optimist. I would say 100% I'm an optimist. But
Why?
I think, uh, why am I an optimist?
Yeah.
I just always try to think as positive as I can, or be like, oh, like, that's okay. Like, this will happen. But however, I do feel like, that, you can be an optimist, but in certain situations, when other emotions like anger, sadness, whatever it is, comes into play, that can kind of change that a little bit. I don't think everyone is truly, fully 100% every day of their life. Just, oh yeah, it's okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I don't think that that's realistic for anyone to be like that. But I try to be as optimistic as I can. For the most part. Um, so I just try not to look at the I try not to think negative, I guess I would say.
So in regards to like optimism versus pessimism, like you don't think necessarily one's better than the other, do you?
Um, no, not really. I mean, I think generally, um, life tends to be a lot better when you are thinking optimistic and positive, most of the time. Just in my own experience, I think that life seems to go a lot better. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really tried the other way.
All right,
Maybe maybe
let me
I
push
should.
you maybe let me push you a little further on this if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Like, have
yeah.
you ever seen that meme of the two people on the bus and one is kind of like down in the dumps and one's kind of happy, where like one side is like really upset and sad and says, "Oh, life is meaningless." And then on the other side of the bus there's a person saying, "Ah, life is meaningless." Like, have you ever seen that before?
No, I haven't seen that. No.
When it like hits your ears, like when you think about that specific kind of just like just like picture, like does it say anything to you at all?
That does, yeah, yeah. Just kind of like a perspective, like, I totally get that. Yeah, I totally get that. Um, and I will say this, that actually kind of like sparked this idea where, um, like, I feel like if you're not happy with yourself, sometimes it's hard to look at other people who are happy and like be happy for them, not that you have to be happy for them, but it's hard to see other people happy when you're not happy sometimes. I don't know if that made sense.
That's all right, and I appreciate you for I appreciate you for like I'm just going on that little thought experiment with me. Um,
Yeah.
Song 17 is part two of Never Stop, the too much version, and this is just a question for me as a listener of the album. I
Hmm.
see why Refund is on this album twice, but I don't see why Never Stop needed a part two per se. May I ask why the too much version is significant and necessary for the audience to hear?
To me, honestly, the reason why those two particular like songs had different versions is I always liked, maybe I'm the only one who's had this experience, but from what I remember, but I know that a lot of rock albums that I would get like maybe like mid late 90s or like even early 2000s, some of them would have at least one or two like different versions of songs on them. Maybe it's even a vinyl thing. I have to like dig deep more into it, but I do remember as far as CDs goes, like there would be like a rock, album just that you would get, and then they would have like, the normal track list, and then at the end it would be like one or two of the same songs that just had like different versions of them. So I was always interested in like that. So that's why those are on there like that.
Kind of like a revisited version of these songs on the same
Yeah, it
release.
was. Yeah, it's kind of just like paying homage to like, earlier, you know, mid 90s, late 90s, like Offspring and, people like that would, do stuff like that.
Okay, I was kind of thinking like how if you remember the John Mayer song from Room for Squares, My Stupid Mouth, like on the back half of the song he goes one more thing, and I kind of feel like oh like maybe that's what Mikey wanted to do here is just like oh like these were like what I said on these songs, but like now that you mention it, I want to include a little bit more, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like that and just kind of like, paying homage to like earlier bands who would just have like different versions, And I thought it would just be something like new and different to do because I don't really know that many people that do that type of thing at the moment, but maybe we could bring it back.
In my own listening experience, I can think of one specific band from the progressive metal scene, The Contortionist, that when the deluxe version of their album, oh my goodness, it's gonna kill me if I don't look this up right now during the stream. Yes, when they re-released their 2014 album Language, if you buy the deluxe version of that release, you get or rather the rediscovered edition of that album that came out the next year, you get two new sessions of the song. Well, actually, no, four rediscovered versions are released. Four of the tracks from that album. Highly recommend it if you're into that kind of sub genre. And the only other band who
Mm.
I can think of that did such a thing is Tenacious D with their infamous song Tribute. But that's neither here nor there. Shout out to Jack Black and Kyle Gass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I know one of my favorite rock bands of all time, The Doors. They did something like that. Like they did that quite often. Especially in their early stuff. There would be, poems that Jim Morrison would do at like the end, at the towards the end of like a song, and then later on like the next album or maybe even the same album it would just be like the entire poem that's like its own separate track. So sorry. It would be uh stuff like that would go on as far as like the Doors are concerned. And I know there's a lot of classic rock that would do that as well. I want to really fuck around and do a concept album like Pink Floyd. Because I've done a rap concept album. I've done plenty of those, but I would love to do one in this particular genre of music. Like,
Well, that sounds interesting.
yeah, like a Dark Side or like The Wall or something like that. Um, Kind of bring that whole thing back, you know? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Those are really good albums. I love those albums.
Hey, big shout out to Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek. Rest in peace to those cats. Shout out to Robbie
Mm,
Krieger and John Desmore. Hope y'all are well, wherever you might be.
mm.
Let's move on to our last question of the evening. Thank you for joining me today, Mikey.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
Track number 18 is called, oh goodness, I moved away from the page. Track 18 is No Hard Feelings. And maybe it's a bit of a kind of an advice column question to end our interview tonight. How does one combat bitterness?
Mm. I just think it takes time. I think it takes time, and I think you just have to get back on the, right track, and you have to distract yourself. You have to do the things that you love. You have to be with the people that you love, and you just have to find something that you're passionate for, and live for that. And I would almost guarantee those feelings of bitterness would go away over time because time I feel like is the one of the greatest healers of all, and I think it just gets better with time. If you have a traumatic life event happen to you, you're gonna be bitter for a little bit, but it'll get better with time. Absolutely.
A bold Canadian named Devin Townsend once said that time is a human construct, but at this time, we are out of time. That concludes our discussion and interview of Good Grief by Mikie. Mikie, feel free to plug anything you want. Is there anything you'd like to add to the people out there who may be listening, past and present and future?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Chris first of all for having me join the live stream tonight and talk about the new album. It's always great when we get to get together and do these things. And Yeah, listen to Good Grief. Listen to the album that came out a month before that. Endure. You know, compare the similarities. See what you like. Maybe there's one album you prefer more, and like that's okay. It's all different strokes. And but they are very similar. And what I'm gonna do next is gonna be completely different, but still singing and in this same genre that we know and love. And I'm gonna try to make it interesting. Maybe do a concept album, and yeah, just kind of rock out.
Well said. Thank you, Mikie, for joining me this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss some new music. To all who might be listening, you know what's coming next. Your calls to action. We'll keep it short and sweet because I am in dire need of some supper. Um, TLDR, too long, don't read, too long, don't listen. Mask up, stay hydrated, and most of all, once you're done listening to this, when you go to bed at night, you're brushing your teeth, you're flossing, you're putting on a face mask. I don't know. You're going to have to look at yourself while you do those things. So please do me a favor. The next time you get a chance, when you're all by yourself, tell yourself that you love yourself. Say, self, I love you. And if for any reason at all you cannot do this, trust me, I can relate. But please know that myself and Mikie here, we love you in the most like supportive and platonic way possible. Um,
Yeah.
Please know that now that I'm back in business, you can expect more episodes with Electric Headspace, Haystack West, Count Scottula. Like if you've been here before, or like our the folks who keep on coming back for some reason. Mike the Catter Friedman, like we'll all we have lots of cool things and music to discuss with you all out there. Just like, like seek out art, seek out the things that you are passionate about, and sooner or later we'll all find ourselves back here. My name is Chris Kennard. I'm here with Mikie. Good grief, our time is up. Say goodbye to the people out there, Mikie.
Hey, goodbye, guys. You can find me on Twitter at Mez Writes Rhymes. All my music is on there, Linktree. I'm sure it'll be in the description of this video. But keep listening to good music, even if it's not my music. Go online, scour the internet, look up
Dig through the
really good music,
crates.
dig through the crates, get it out there.
Just don't walk on top of them; you might fall down.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Thank you so much. Take care. Godspeed. Goodbye.
Bye.